Well, just take a look at this exclusive Fox video showing a massive horde of migrants trying to bum rush their way into the country at a port of entry in El Paso. It led to an intense standoff that lasted hours as they clashed with authorities. Border agents in riot gear and the Mexican military forced to fend off the large group. The illegals were apparently told some false information on social media that said that they could be let into the United States if they showed up at the bridge with their kids. Joe Biden could see this insanity for himself. He's only 100 miles away in California. But all we're getting is more nonsense from his press secretary. Try to decipher this.
What we are going to promise is that we're going to do this. We're going to move forward with this kind of system, this immigration system that has been gutted, really, truly gutted by the last administration. We're going to move forward and do it in a humane way. We're going to do it in a safe way, and we're going to do it in the way that moves us forward. And so what we have been seeing, what we've been dealing with, again, is trying to fix the damage that the last administration did.
So they're moving forward, Dana.
Yeah, there's a lot of words, a lot of words there. One thing about that video is at that sign, you know, it says Feliz Viaje. That means have a good trip or have a good time. Like have a good trip. Like they're not going on a vacation. We need to fix that sign. Although Feliz Viaje, that could actually be the Biden re-election campaign because they're about to go into this re-election with this record on immigration. And they're trying to blame as Brian was pointing out, they try to blame everything on the Trump administration. People can see things with their own eyes, and going into an election with this record is pretty impossible to imagine for me. First of all, they ran on ending deportations and offering free health care to illegal migrants. That's what they did. And then they attempted to freeze deportations. They tried to end Title 42. They stopped mounted police Border Patrol from riding their horses along the way. They also started moving people around in the middle of the night. And then they all tried to blame the Trump administration, which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't hold up. And I think also, if you're the press secretary, you actually don't have to do cable news on a Friday night. Like, you really, truly don't. If you don't have anything to say, you can take a pass and say, I'll catch you on Monday.
Not Brian Kilmeade. He's on every show, every night of the week.
Right.
Never said no.
But if someone said explain and defend Joe Biden's immigration system, sorry, I'm busy. I'm going clubbing. But I would say this is what he's up against. Senator Menendez over the weekend came out and said it's time for Joe Biden to stop with this crackdown. He said most of these people from Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, they're fleeing dictatorship. He's going to be known as the asylum denier in chief if he doesn't stop denying these people asylum. So people on his far left are as outraged as people on the middle right about what he's doing. So it's not that he can't win. He's not trying. The other thing to keep in mind, the New York Post said the cartels put out that false tweet information to force that flood at the border. I'm wondering if that's related to the threats that were leveled from Republicans over the last few days.
So disinformation from the cartels.
Which I think is the worst. Yeah. That's the worst thing.
Nothing's worse than disinformation. Kennedy,
where is Nina Jankowicz when you need her?
Right,
absolutely.
Fight him with Nina. Does this look like a fair and humane and orderly process?
Yeah, it actually, I thought this was video of spring break, and I had assumed that someone put out a tweet that Taylor Swift was on the other side of the bridge. And the spring breakers were so excited to go meet Tay-Tay that they just bum rushed. This is completely inhumane. This is not a functional system. This is cruel, and they are allowing this to happen. And, you know, it's like, I was at the El Chapo trial. I was sitting there in the courtroom. I was there the day that his lieutenant said, yeah, we had $250 million in a suitcase that we gave to the president of Mexico. Anyone can be gotten to. And I'm not saying that Senator Menendez has been gotten to, but he certainly is taking a much more hospitable approach to cartels.
Right.
He doesn't want to designate them as terrorist organization. But this is a form of terrorism, you know, whether you like it or not, because people on both sides of this issue lose. People who are taking their kids, trying to flee wherever they are, and the people in this country who are competing for health care and jobs.
Usually the president ignores images like this, but these images wake the country up when you see this. It's rude, the way they're acting. They're expecting something that they're not deserved of. And when do you think the president's going to address the border crisis? Last time he said he had an app for this.
Well, sooner rather than later, and I think they're trying. I think you look at what's happened in the last few weeks, at least from a posture standpoint, on crime. the president made clear that he was not in favor of what D.C. tried to do and eventually got pulled back, but he put his foot down as well. 2, he's decided to do some drilling up in Alaska on this energy piece, which I think is an incredibly important national security and national economic policy pivot that he needed to do. This moment here is one crying out for some sort of massive posture pivot as well. Politics and elections bring about sometimes a different person, a different approach. We can all be proud of people who come to our political side. I know that my friend who's now here at the network, Tulsi Gabbard, is now no longer a Democrat, and people applaud that. There's some people that really applaud it. I like her a lot. I don't agree with her with everything, but I think she's become the person she wants to be politically. If President Biden believes that we ought to have a different posture at the border, he should do it. He believes we should have a different posture on crime. He believes we should have a different posture on energy. It's going to take building a wall. It's going to take reforming the asylum process. It's going to take sending more DEA agents there, and it may even take a more creative military strategy as we think about how the cartels are treating American people when they cross the border.
Will he do any of that?
Well, I don't think anybody thought we'd drill in Alaska a week ago, 2 weeks ago either. The president would approve that. So I think there's
I believe it when I see it.
I said it Friday.
Dana predicted it. She's got a great track record of predictions.
Are you predicting anything on the border?
They'll do something. They have to.
I'm with Dana.
Something's better than nothing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.